And you're good to go.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, October 19th, 2021. I call the meeting to order at 6:32. All right, all selectmen are in attendance. First item is public comment. If any of our attendees have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. All right, I see no hands raised. We are going to go to scheduled appointments. Under A, Scholarship Committee, we're rescheduling that. They weren't prepared. No, I shouldn't say prepared. They weren't ready. They didn't have all the information they wanted to provide us with. So we're going to move right on to B, Nick McAvoy, presentation for Eagle Scout Aqueduct Project. Vanessa, can you bring Catherine McPhee, Mr. DeStefano? And actually, I do not see Mr. McAvoy yet.
He's here. Hello.
He is here. Okay, there you are. Sorry. Vanessa's too quick. She brought you over before I saw that you were gone. Good evening, Kat.
Good evening.
Welcome. So why don't I turn this over to you? I don't know. Do you plan on sharing your screen or?
Nope, this is all Nick.
This is all Nick. All right. Welcome, Mr. McAvoy. We appreciate you coming tonight, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
So you want
I just updated you as a co-host.
Okay.
Do you see that option now, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Okay, so my project is the Aqueduct Connector Trail, and we're doing this in partnership with the Southborough Trails Committee. So the location, the trail is going to be off Pine Hill Road in Southborough, near the Aqueduct Trail, and it's going to connect from the Aqueduct Trail to the Bay Circuit Trail connector, which is a former Eagle project. In the images, you can see that there's like a variety of terrain that we're going to have to deal with. There's a hill near Pine Hill Road, so we need a switchback for that. And there's a lot of weeds, specifically poison ivy in some places, so we're worried about that. The land is MWRA owned, and Southborough Trails Committee is working on getting the permits to do the work there right now. So as for property abutters, there's 3 properties that abut the trail. The trail can be seen in yellow in this image. And we need a surveyor to tell us where the property lines are so that we can make sure that our trail stays within that MWRA owned land. The trail probably will not support parking because there's not much of a shoulder where we want to build the trail, and Pine Hill Road is pretty narrow. As for weeds, we do have a lot of weeds like that we're going to have to clear out under these power lines and closer to Pine Hill Road. There's a substantial amount of poison ivy, and we're going to have to take some precautions for our volunteers to make sure that everyone is safe. Oh, also tread maintenance is going to be required. We're going to have to remove the top layer of organic matter, roots, rocks, that type of stuff to make sure that the trail is like good for people to walk on. As for fundraising, the nature of the project will only require like a few tools from the participants, like work gloves, masks, and like eye protection. And then the Trails Committee is going to help us with like other tools we may need for like clearing out some of that stuff. We're planning on putting trail signs on both ends of the trail. So at Pine Hill Road and at the like the other trail that it's connected to, the Bay Circuit Trail connector. And so we're going to have to resurvey after we a resurvey. Okay, so O'Done Surveying and Mapping is owned by Glenn O'Done, and he was previously affiliated with Troop 92. So he has already agreed to do the surveying for us, so we don't have to raise money for that. And as for our timeline, once the 8M permit has been amended, then we're going to start working by getting the survey done and hopefully we can get it done by fall 2021. Like we want to start working as soon as possible and finish by December. And it must be finished by March 2022 because that's when I will age out. For manpower, I actually recently just broke my hip, so I'm mostly just going to be taking a like leading role, like helping people like know what to do for the trail for the time being. And then it'll be overseen like every work day we're doing. We're having a member of the Trails Committee come out, like Catherine McKee. Scouts from Troop 92 are going to help me, adults and adult supervisors from Troop 92 as well as the Trails Committee's members and affiliates are what we need for manpower. Tools, hand and bow saws, pickaxe, scythe and sickle, brush whip, and then safety issues that we have while doing this project. Obviously, COVID-19, we're going to take the precautions necessary, masking, social distancing, and hand sanitizer use. And for first aid, we already mentioned safety goggles and the poison ivy. So we got to just make sure that people are prepared and ready to do the trail work needed to finish that. All right, that is the last slide I have.
Great, thank you very much. I have a couple questions for you. Then we'll open it up to the board. First off, I hope that you're certainly on the mend. Sorry to hear about what happened. So just a couple quick questions. When you showed pictures and you talked about clearing around, say, the electrical wires and poles there, how wide of a path are you looking to clear? Are you looking to clear that whole area or?
No, I would say like about a meter or so that two people could walk past each other in either direction.
Okay. And did you find on anywhere on the path that you're choosing that you needed to go before conservation, that there were any wetlands or anything in that area?
There were no wetlands, but there was a gas line, I believe, that ran near the Pine Hill Road section that we're going to have to be careful with. I think we'll probably have to contact DigSafe, but we're not going to go too deep. We just have to go like an inch or so down. So
great. I think this is a great project. Catherine, I have one question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just where are you at in the permitting process?
Yes, so MWRA actually has given permission to move in parallel with the permitting process. So they have the information they need. They're just amending it. They're going to amend the existing 8M permit, so it's a little bit easier going to contracting. And they're also adding the Peninsula Trail, so they're doing that like one update for both sections. So we've had a little bit of our main contact is out of commission, but he has someone else kind of taking over. So we've had a bump or two in that way, but things are moving forward.
Great. Nick, thank you so much. This is a very great project. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Malinowski.
Thanks. Thank you, Nick. Great presentation and project. I do have one question. How are you planning on fundraising for what you need?
We haven't planned a set thing for this yet, but things we've done in the past for our troop are cutting up firewood and selling it to local community members and stuff that need firewood. I'm also the captain of the rugby team. Something we've done for that is helping people stack the firewood once we give it to them, and that's a good thing that we've done to raise fundraising there. So I think we could definitely do something similar with the colder months coming up.
Okay, great. I wish you a speedy recovery and good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Mr. Haley.
I promised Mr. Stivers I wouldn't ask any questions, and I really don't have any. I think it sounds like a great project, and it combines two of my favorite things: dealing with the Trails Committee and dealing with with Troop 92. You've got big shoes to fill because there have been some terrific projects in the past out of your troop. So this sounds like another great one. And Peter, I see your Kenyon shirt. I visited there when one of my kids was looking at schools. I don't know what your connection is, but it's a little in the middle of nowhere, but otherwise a great place.
It's a lot in the middle of nowhere. And yes, I'm an alumnus. So.
Is that all, Marty? Great, thank you. Mr. Stivers.
Thank you. And Nick, good presentation, good project. And my questions have been answered, and I will echo Mr. Healy's comments and wish you a speedy recovery and great success with the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dennington.
Thank you, Nick. I don't have any questions. Sounds like a great project, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. So do we have a motion to accept the Eagle Scout project for the Eagle Scout Aqueduct project?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Ms. Malinowski.
Aye.
Mr. Stivers.
Aye.
Mr. Healy.
Aye.
Mr. Dennington.
Aye.
And Ms. Braccio. Aye. And there you have it. Nick, thank you so much. Good luck to you on your recovery. And Catherine as well. Thank you for attending tonight as well. Mr.
you.
DeStefano, it was nice to see you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
All
very
right.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.
Next item up, Chairman's report. I just wanted to touch briefly on, I had a conversation, and I'm sure many of you have heard about this already, but I had a brief conversation with Carolyn Dykema last week regarding some redistricting that's going on now. And as of the election in November of next year, Carolyn will no longer be a representative. The new district is made up of 2 precincts in Northborough, roughly 80% or so of Westborough, and all of Southborough. So, so the maps are being released now. I just wanted to give the board a heads up that this is forthcoming. I shared with Carolyn our sadness. You know, we've had a wonderful relationship with her, and it's unfortunate where she's been so responsive to the town. So that is forthcoming. And she said she would certainly be willing, obviously, after the new election to, help in any way that she can, because she says Southborough has a soft spot in her heart. So that is it for the redistricting. And Heritage Day was a great success. I'm not sure if any members had the opportunity to participate in the parade. I heard it was a great parade. And it was very good turnout by the time I got there, just after 10:30. So a success all around. So that's all I have for Chairman's report. Ms. Malinowski, update on regional dispatch.
Thank you. So we had our kickoff meeting last week with the 5 other towns to talk about regional dispatch. And I just wanted to give this group a brief update on where we're at. So that they talked about when the next funding cycle is for a regional dispatch center and setup and kind of everything that goes into it. So the guidelines are announced in January. The beginning of March, the application is due, and then they announce the grant awards in June. So, I know January could sound far away, but it kind of isn't. So the next steps for the study is that there will be interviews of key stakeholders in each town to evaluate where everyone is. And it will include site visits, including current and potential costs. And every town is kind of at a different point in their process and mindset of, looking at this study. Some have already gone through a study more recently. So, I think some are ready to go, and others like us are kind of evaluating if this is really the right fit for Southborough. So, and just to touch on what the grant can pay for, radio systems, interoperability, infrastructure inside facility, records management, renovations. It has been used to purchase buildings in the past, portable radio, station alerting, tower sites, and it can improve on radio connections for gaps in coverage throughout towns as well. So that's kind of an overview of what they talked about. There was a lot of other details, but I tried to just highlight kind of what the next steps are and what the path forward would look like.
All right, no comments I see. COVID-19 update, Ms. Malinowski.
Yeah, that's me too. Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to give this board an update. So as you know, we track cases on a 2-week basis. So the last 2 weeks that were reported, we had 17 cases so far this week. So Monday and Tuesday, we've had 8 new cases, and currently 13 are in isolation. So overall, it's kind of plateaued out for the town and for the schools. But that's where we're at. So I just wanted to give an update.
Great, thank you. Golf course update, Mr. Stivers.
Thanks. I've been attending the new golf course committee meetings. Got a good committee there. Looks like they are very eager to dig in and get some things done. The golf course actually is experiencing, as I think some of you have seen, record activity and financial performance. Before the town acquired the course, they were doing about 12 to 14,000 rounds a year. During construction, that dropped to about 10,000 rounds. And then 2020 was the first year they were back up to full operation, and it was the best ever. And 20 and 21 are going to be even better. 21 will be better than 20 at about 19 to 20,000 rounds. So we're up by about 50% in terms of number of rounds as well as revenue. So it's again a great financial track so far, which is good to see certainly. And the committee is actually working on a letter to us to request some support for screening along Lattisquama Road. I think folks saw the letter we got from the resident who was injured by a golf ball while walking down Lattisquama. So I think there's some holes in the screening that need to be addressed, and they're working on putting some thoughts together around that. The new putting green looks great. The golf management company agreement renewal is coming up soon, and so there's some issues that I think are worth thinking about with that. And they're looking into additional food and beverage service in the clubhouse. There's a desire to get the road and parking areas paved, and I think Mr. Purple has had some conversations with them about that. And also looking into some irrigation options for the fairways and greens there. And then they're also interested in some additional marketing activities to increase volume. One of the original committee's consultants was talking about the fact that the course ought to be able to support at least 25,000 rounds a year without getting too crowded for people. And given that it's a pretty fixed cost operation, the more volume you put through there, the more goes through the bottom line, which again creates revenue to fund improvements in the course. So all in all, seems like things are on a great track. We've got a good committee, and obviously the more publicity we can get around there to drive volume. Pandemic has actually helped volume there, which is good news in a sort of perverse kind of way. And we hope that trend continues in terms of volume increase. So that's it for the report. Thanks.
Mr. Haley.
Yeah, I just following up on that, a couple of things. Number one, I spend a lot of time walking around over there, and the company's done a really nice job with the course. I think that has contributed to the uptick in the activity. It's in great shape. In terms of the and Sam, you and I talked about this at the office hours last week, either with ourselves or in conjunction with the golf course committee. I'm not a golfer, but I'm told that the 19th hole is a reasonably important part of the golfing experience. And I didn't realize that the golf course, the Shack, doesn't have a liquor license. And I think that is definitely worth a discussion with them and among ourselves about whether or not that makes sense. As I said, I've been told that it's an important part of the golfing experience, and it's probably worth exploring if it's going to be something else that enhances the attractiveness of the course.
And Marty, I didn't think they did either. I
They
checked
do.
with Mark, and he tells me they do have a
Well, they do.
beer and wine license. So I was
They've
surprised.
had a liquor license ever since it was with St. Mark's. So
Wow.
they have a
okay.
beer,
All right.
yeah, they have a beer and wine license. And I do agree with you with that deck off of the front or the back, depending on your point of view. You've got great ambiance and everything, so yes, but they have had a beer and wine license for a number of years.
Which
Are
I
they-
didn't
Are they
realize either.
serving? Do they serve beer and
No.
wine already?
No beverages, I don't think. They actually serve sandwiches, but not much. They somehow, I understand they're required to serve at least a minimal amount of food, which they do, but not they don't advertise it, don't push it. So that's worth looking into. And the committee, I think, is very interested in understanding that a little better and finding ways to leverage that. So,
Okay, that's all for me. Thanks.
yeah, I was misinformed about that myself.
All right, thank
That's
you,
it.
Mr.
Thank you.
Stivers.
Thanks.
Town Administrator's Report, Mr. Purple.
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to flip my report. So I start with golf instead of finishing with golf, just to continue this thread. Because I do agree with Mr. Stivers that, the golf committee is doing a lot of good things. It's nice to see them get reinvigorated. And the one thing I want to take off the table is that is that if the golf committee does come forward with a recommendation for adding additional fencing and everything, just want to remind the board that we do have a golf revolving fund where any revenue raised from golf goes into the revolving fund and can only be spent back on the course. So it is obviously we're doing pretty well, and therefore you do have a little bit of money in there to be able to address some of these needs of the course. So hopefully if something does come to you for the recommendation, we can turn that around pretty quickly.
How much is in there? Do we know?
Offhand, I'm going to say probably, I'm going to say about $40,000.
Wow. Okay. Good to
Yeah.
know. The committee didn't seem to be certain about what was available there. So that's good information. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't tell them.
Oops, it's now out.
Yeah, it's a, like I said, it really was not much at all.
Yeah.
However, you know, given last year and given this year, remember last year was the contract that they you know did 10%, but it was over $200,000.
Right.
This year it's back to the 10%, and so we've been getting pretty good, you know, monthly checks for the season.
Did I hear you correctly? That was $2,000 in the account?
Yes, rounded. Yes. I just wanted to mention the ALS weekend that we had at the Southborough Golf Club over the Columbus Day holiday. This is something that was started 3 years ago in memory of John Wilson, and then, you know, also in memory of Brian Schifrin. Back in 2019, there was a $2,500 donation to ALS One. Last year, 300, I don't have the number of rounds from 19, but in 2020, they did 348 rounds, donation of $4,100. This year, 362 rounds, and they did a donation of just over $5,000, $5,074. So it's really coming along. You know, I'd like to, you know, acknowledge Brian Shea helping to be the conduit for the town for that event. And also Jen at ALS One, who really has helped to coordinate, you know, on their end. You know, the management company likes doing it. We had 3 good days of weather this year, so it really was helpful. And hopefully we can continue to keep that number moving up on a regular basis. I've had a couple of questions about the Mooney lights and trying to get those up and running. You know, I remember when the field was dedicated over there for Brian Schifrin, the lights looked great. You know, just don't turn them on because, you know, they didn't work at that point. And we've been going back and forth with National Grid. They simply need to come in and do their work and electrify them. I have reached out to our customer representative at Grid, Bob Moran, and, you know, trying to get this into their schedule. It is on deck to be scheduled, but we don't have a date yet. And so I'm continuing to try and work with Bob to try to move this along and get a date so that we can get them energized. Would have been great to have them for the summer, would have been great to have them for the field dedication, but it's important to make sure that we have everything all set, I think, before the ground freezes. And the last item, Community Compact IT grant application. We did put in a grant application with the state for the servers and upgrading the licenses for the servers, kind of hedging our bets a little bit and hoping that we can provide some other source of funding for the servers rather than whether it be tax dollars, free cash, some other fund. Like to find a way to do that without having it hit the tax rate. And so we put in the application. I think we're not going to hear though until probably sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But we're really going to put a push on with the legislators, and also with the Department of Revenue, and see if we can't get the funding that we need for this. So Jay did a nice job pulling everything together and worked a little bit with Brian Ballantyne to get the application done. So that's in, and fingers crossed, we'll have some good news hopefully in another month or so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Purple. Next up, consent agenda. We'll go down the line. Mr. Healy, do you have any holds? All right, Mr. Stivers?
A, please.
Okay. Mr. Dennington?
I was also going to hold A.
Okay, Ms. Malinowski?
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Stivers, why don't we actually, sorry, I was gonna do that first, but that being said, do we have a motion to approve consent agenda items B, C, D, and E?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Stivers,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Aye.
Mr. Dennington,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski,
Aye.
and Ms. Brascio. Aye. Thank you very much. Mr. Stivers on A.
Okay. I had a few small edits on the October 7th minutes. Line 77, Dr. Medina's first name is misspelled, should be Safdar. Line 78 should be with their, THERE. Line 165 refers to Ms. Davis. Should it be Miss Jones? And then line 180 should be agree versus agrees. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Dennington?
I had a question about line 75. So this was about Article 2, the select renaming to select board, where it says, Ms. Cook said that she agrees with Mr. Healy, as did several other advisory members. And I don't know whether that was accurate or I think that,
I'm sure it was accurate.
okay. Does she agree with Mr. Stivers?
And
'Cause
wise
I
as
recall,
well.
I thought most of the advisory committee members supported the change to select board. So I don't know what other people's memory is.
I thought that she was saying that that wasn't the most brilliant term, but that was the best choice and she supported
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my recollection. So.
Same here, Sam. Did you have any other, Andrew?
No.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Malinowski?
October 7th, row 55. Can we just add, Ms. Malinowski asked Mr. Pfaff what the difference would be as to where the funding would reside? And that's all I had.
Wow. All right. That being said, do we have a motion to approve open session meeting minutes September 8th, 2021 and October 7th, 2021 as amended?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
Mr. Healy,
Aye.
Mr. Dennington.
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski.
Aye.
And Ms. Brascio. Aye. Great. Thank you very much.
Mr.
I'm-
Stivers, could I beg your sending me your changes, please?
Sure.
I missed a couple of them, so,
Okay.
and unfortunately, these are my minutes.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but I appreciate it was only like 4 or 5 issues, so, but that doesn't mean I'm doing them, but
Okay.
yeah, if you could do that, I'd appreciate it, just so we can make sure we get the
Sure.
changes accurate.
No problem. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, other matters, consideration of amendment to fire chief contract regarding paramedic certification. Can we please bring Chief Achilles over, please? So this was an extension of the prior discussion we had had in executive session, but everyone had agreed to bring this into open session. Welcome, Chief. I know there was some questions that Ms. Malinowski had asked, and I believe council had supplied responses to those. So we'll go around the table. I just want to say that I do have a couple questions for the chief as well. As far as the memo isn't clear, Chief, is if you're looking to do an EMT-A or an EMT-B.
The minimum would be EMT basic.
Okay,
It doesn't mean that during the recertification process, I wouldn't hold a higher level. But I think it's important that the fire chief hold EMS licensure, at least at the EMT basic level.
okay. So that's basically 2 levels down from the paramedic, then A, then B.
That's correct.
Okay, so, all right, I'll let it go at that for now. We'll go around. Ms. Malinowski.
Thank you. So I think that Chief Achilles brings a lot of value to the fire chief position. And I think, we're seeing that in the operations of the department. I'm just uncomfortable with going from a paramedic to a basic. And when I looked at the roster of the current fire department, all the lieutenants have, at a minimum, have the advanced level. So I believe that Chief Achilles brings more than his paramedic skills. I think, we get a lot of value out of his leadership and, other reasons why he was brought into this department. So I don't want to take away from that. I'm just uncomfortable with going down to a basic, but that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Mr. Healy.
I'm fine with the proposal. And I also appreciate Ms. Federoff's nice, concise explanation about how to go about it.
Thank you, Mr. Stivers.
I'm okay with the proposal. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Dennington.
I'm also okay with the proposal.
Okay, thank you. So I also shared some of Ms. Malinowski's concerns where we're more of a paramedic-driven department, and it reflects in no way on the chief. I also sat here on the negotiations of the prior contract and knowing that that was an important piece. So I do have some reservations as well. So, but it seems like the board will speak. So that being said, do we have a motion for consideration of an amendment to the fire chief contract regarding paramedic certification to requiring a EMT B?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski,
No,
Mr. Healy,
Aye.
Mr. Dennington.
Aye.
And Ms. Braccio, no. So 3-2. So thank you, Chief. We will get that amendment taken care of. And
I
thank you for
appreciate it.
coming tonight. And
Thank
again,
you,
it reflects not on you, but just on, I think there's concerns that Chelsea and I shared. So,
No worries, and thank you very much for your support.
all right. Thank you, Chief. Have a great night.
You too. Bye now.
Thank you.
Madam
Ms. Braccio,
Chair.
Sorry.
Oh, Go
sorry,
ahead.
we may have the same question. Are we going to send it to Labor Council to draft the amendment?
Yeah, that
Yes.
was going to be my question as to is am I shepherding this? Is one of the, would one of the board members want to, I'm happy to do it and I'll deal with Ms.
That's fine.
Federoff to deal with that. Okay.
That's fine, Mark. Thank you. Okay. Again, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right, next up, request from the Capital Committee. We received a email today. I don't know if everyone's had the opportunity to look it over with a couple of requests from Capital. One was the Shopsy subcommittee makeup. Mr. Pfaff had resigned from the Capital Committee, and the makeup of the Shopsy subcommittee to look at South Union was 2 members of Shopsy, 2 members of Capital, and a member from Planning. So there was a opening once Mr. Pfaff resigned from Capital. So Capital Committee discussed last night to see if there was an interest from another member to fill that vacant seat. And at this time, there is not. So it's up to the board. Let's see, there's no current Capital members wish to step forward. I will say that Mr. Pfaff has expressed an interest in continuing, so we would have to change the makeup of the charge of the subcommittee, but I will just share with the board a concern I have on that, where it's the disposition of a building. I would caution having a member of either the Board of Selectmen or advisory being involved at the subcommittee level. So it's up to the board. I'll open it up for discussion on how you think it should be handled. Those are kind of the 2 choices that are on the table. And we'll start with Mr. Healy.
I agree that Andrew Pfaff has been nothing but, a terrific
Yeah.
contributor on pretty much everything he's touched. I just think it's a thicket we should avoid, having somebody from advisory be on the subcommittee. I just looked at this for the first time today. I don't have a good idea about what to do with that vacant slot. It's too bad that somebody else isn't willing to step up, but is there a sense that the work of the committee is going to be harmed if we don't get someone in there immediately? Because it just seems like taking a little bit of time to think about it and shop around might make some sense.
And I don't think there's any harm in it, Marty. I think the reason why no one else from Capital really stepped up and stepped forward is it's short of, at this point, Mr. Malinowski and I, it's relatively all new people who are new to serving the town. They've served for, under a year. And it's a pretty big process to what they're going through. And none of them felt confident enough at this time to take on that additional burden, as well as it was a time constraint as well.
Yeah,
So-
no, I get it. It's just, it is too bad because it would require a change to the charge and to go elsewhere. But I understand that there are competing demands.
I mean, we can certainly leave it vacant for now, Marty. And, if someone steps forward or that changes, I don't think it deters the work that's happening. You currently still have 2 SHOPSI members, which I think is obviously vital, to the discussions that are going on about this, as well as a planning board member, and still 1 member of Capital. So,
Yeah, if there's a good idea, I just don't have one. But if there's a good idea for how to change the charge and who to slot into it, I'm all ears. But it's not coming from me. I don't have much to contribute on that score.
okay, thank you. Mr. Stivers.
As usual, I agree with Marty.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dennington.
Just so I can understand, what is the concern about having someone from advisory on the subcommittee? Is it that they would not be able to objectively give an opinion about disposition of town property, or?
Well, I think it's just, in my opinion, Andrew, it's kind of a slippery slope when the vote may come back to advisory and the Board of Selectmen to, find another use of that property. And I think it's a discussion that we should be having amongst the boards, advisory and BOS, and allowing others to make those decisions.
Okay.
Is that it, Andrew? Ms. Malinowski?
I'm on the same page as Marty.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to put a pause and we're just going to come back to it at a later date, which is totally fine. So that's wonderful for that. The next item is, we had kind of talked about this before, of taking the number from Capital down from 7 to 5. And where Mr. Pfaff is now at, off the committee, we're at 5. So Capital discussed last night changing it at this point because Ms. Hale had put out a round of looking for people and we got no responses back. So we don't want to run into a quorum issue. There's a lot of things going on in Capital right now with the space needs plan and the school committee, subcommittees coming up with some feedback. So they just felt it was important that for the time being, at least, if we could change the charge on that down to 5. Yes, Mr. Healy.
Yeah, could we, I don't have a problem with doing that, but so that we don't bounce back and forth between numbers, would it be, I think it's possible for us to instead change the charge that the number for a quorum will be determined by the number of members of the committee at any given time, rather than the number of potential members of the committee. I think we can do that.
I have no idea.
I think so also, but we could certainly find out easily enough.
Okay, so I mean, we can put this on for November 3rd as well, and we can find out, certainly find out in the interim.
Yeah, my guess is that's a 5-minute phone call with Jay Tallerman.
Absolutely.
I'm 95% sure that we can do that. But I agree that we should make sure before we do.
And Mr. Purple, I'm going to put that on your plate, seeing as I believe town council will be in the townhouse tomorrow.
Yes, he will, and I'm
Okay.
making a note right now.
Thank you. So we'll have information, Marty, then for the next meeting. So we'll table both of these for now. It's not going to affect anything that's happening right now. So thank you very much. Next up, item C, update on the downtown district bylaw. I thank everybody that, I know Ms. Malinowski's up to date on the meeting as well. I thank everybody for taking part. I think it was a spirited discussion that I think the end result was something that we were all hoping for and looking to have. So I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that. If not, I could just give a couple updates as well. I know Mr. Purple had circulated the amendments today, and I had actually gone into the townhouse and signed them as well. But Mr. Haggerty had called me this afternoon with a suggestion, and I guess he had also spoken to the town moderator that the easiest way to do this is to take the new downtown district, which we've all agreed with what the amendments would be, print it out on, we're going to say blue paper for town meeting. And then when the motion on the floor, you're going to motion instead of what's printed in the warrant, you're going to motion for what's printed on the blue handout that everybody's going to be given. Then you bypass the amendments. So I thought that was great thinking out of the box. The town moderator also thought it fell within the four corners. So I just wanted to share that and get everybody's kind of thought process on that. It made a lot of sense to me. I think it's a little bit less confusing to the public as well. Not to say that somebody may or may not stand up and make amendments otherwise, but I think, knowing that we can present a document at town meeting that has support of, planning board, board of selectmen, and EDC, and hopefully advisory as well. I know advisory is taking a vote at their meeting tomorrow night. So we'll just
Lisa?
kind of go, yes, go ahead, Sam.
Question. Will the blue paper version be the markup version that shows the new language in bold and the old language crossed out? So people can see what has changed from the original. If somebody's been following the process, it seems to me it would be useful to make it clear that we've made some changes since the original or the most recent draft that was publicly circulated for discussion between the various boards. I don't know. As folks know, I'm a big red line fan. This would be a blue line version.
So again, I'm open for discussion on that. Sam, I don't know, again, I can't imagine how that may or may not affect, as long as it's what's printed. I just don't know if there's going to be confusion with the red line version, but I know they've done it before. I mean, Personnel Board has done it before.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's pretty clear there what stuff is stricken. So that's not part of what people are approving. And the bold language is in clear text there. I don't know. It's worth thinking about maybe, but that would make it easier to understand in one sense. But
I had a quick conversation with Mr. Haggerty days ago when it was unclear whether or not we were going to be at this juncture. And I think his thinking was that it be a clean version rather than a marked up version. But he's thought about it an awful lot. So I think whether it's Mark or Lisa or whoever, touch base with him and get his thoughts.
Yeah, I can see why clean would be easier for people to understand, certainly, and maybe that's the way to go. I mean, I don't feel strongly about it, but I think some people may be curious about what's changed.
And then the other thing, Lisa, do we have to vote on this?
we do, but
we do,
I
okay.
have that under, I was going to get to that part.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. No, we're not going
I
to
see
bypass
Mr.
that.
Anderson lurking in our ante room, green room over there. So,
Mr. Dennington, any thoughts on that?
No, I don't have any strong feelings. I mean, if someone asked, what is this amendment about, it would be pretty simple to explain it. It's just a couple numbers changed.
Yeah. And Ms. Malinowski.
I don't have a strong feeling either.
Okay, so that being said, now we'll get to the motion. Do we have a motion that the Board of Selectmen adopt version 9 of the downtown district with the 3 changes that were agreed upon at the planning board meeting and supported by planning board and EDC last night.
So move.
Is there a second?
Happy to second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call. Mr. Stivers,
Aye.
Mr. Healy,
Aye.
Mr. Dennington,
Aye.
Ms. Malinowski. Aye. Ms. Braccio, aye. Okay, thank you very much. So that piece is done. The next piece, and I'm still going to stick with this on the downtown district, though I know it falls into presentation of articles, is so when Chairman Healy approached me a year ago to work with the EDC and to move this forward and get consensus, I feel like we've done that. So I am happy at this point to turn over the reins as we go into town meeting and open the door for another member of the board, potentially a member of EDC, to actually present at town meeting. So I am interested on thoughts on this.
Are you willing to do it?
I would prefer not to.
Okay.
It's been a long year.
And it's not over yet.
It is not over yet. No. So I'm just hopefully hoping, someone feels, comfortable enough and strong enough about the amazing job and collaboration that's been done to want to be able to present this at town meeting. And again, keeping in mind, town meeting, there are no monitors. So it's not like you can do a formal presentation. Whatever you do is going to be via a handout. So any thoughts? I'm seeing none.
I'd volunteer Marty.
I was thinking the same thing, Sam, but I didn't want to say that. I mean, I think Marty and even Julie from EDC up there together could be.
There are pluses and minuses to that approach. I will tell you that. Let's, we don't have to decide tonight. Honestly, I see Mr. Anderson out there. And maybe get his thoughts on, if there were a quick handoff to the EDC, which has done obviously an enormous amount of work on this whole thing. Does that make sense, Lisa? Maybe to bring him over and maybe pick his brain about it?
Sure.
Or maybe Mr. Morris, the planning board, would participate in the discussion there too somehow. I don't know.
I don't know, Sam, would they have to write the report? I don't know if, we can certainly ask.
It just seems to me that a lot of work has been done to get folks aligned on this. So to have representatives from all the pieces that are now aligned have the opportunity to say at least a few words on it might be a useful push.
Mr. Anderson has appeared.
Hi, thank you. As I had mentioned last night, I think the EDC is willing to follow the direction of the Board of Selectmen. We're very proud of the position that we got to, which was having language that was approved and agreed upon by everybody. I think we're in a very good place. So as someone had mentioned, Julie Connolly has spent an awful lot of work on the zoning and would be available to speak. I would be available to speak. But what we want to do is just make sure that we work hand in hand with the Board of Selectmen to do whatever you guys feel is right. So please let us know what you need from us. And although I'm speaking as myself, and I will have to take it back to the committee, we're ready to help in any way we can.
Go ahead, Marty.
Lisa, hearing that, I'm fine doing the introductory stuff and certainly ready, willing, and able to take any flack. That's one of my specialties. So, but I just think honestly, Rob, you guys know this thing inside and out, also, I feel very good about where we are and what our prospects are for getting a 2/3 vote at town meeting. And, this is going to be a significant achievement for the town, but it really is going to be a significant significant achievement for the EDC. And I think you correctly point out that Julie has put in an incredible amount of work. Lisa did as well, and you know, others. But you know, I'm fine being the you know, the introductory person and the flag catcher, and let the real work be done by the folks from the EDC.
Wonderful. Yeah, we will obviously coordinate and make sure that we keep it short. Town meeting is can be long, so what we'll try to do is keep it as concise and straightforward as possible. So thank you for that opportunity.
And Marty, I will just add, my suggestion wasn't because of FLAC. Certainly FLAC doesn't faze me in the least. You
Oh,
know?
no, I was not implying that. I was just implying that I like it.
So, no, I just, again, my reasoning is it's been a long process to get where we're at. And I just think we're in such a good place that, you know, it's never a bad thing to give the opportunity to have somebody else step up. That's all.
Fair enough.
So, okay. All right. So that makes that easy. All right. So, Marty, you will have a conversation with Julie, and I mean, we can talk a little bit about, I think as far as handouts go, I think obviously we now have our blue page, and I'm sure Mr. Anderson, you heard that as well, that instead of amendments, you know, we're going to hand out a blue page. So it might be useful in the interim to get some information out there. I know I had talked to Mark. One of the things, and I know Rob, I had just sent this out, had this sent out to the board, is a form of a red line version. It's not really red, Mr. Stivers, but, and I did update it after the conversations. So this might be something we may want to put out there as well, Sam, just now, letting people know and being able to educate people. And actually, I can put it up real quick, Rob, just so you can see as well. With Vanessa, if you wouldn't mind sharing screen with me. And I'll make this real fast, and I will forward you a copy as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Oh, I'm getting a weird question. There we go. Okay, great. So. Oops, where did it go? There we, nope, that's the wrong one. Here we go. So this is one of the things I had put together, and it just goes through and it compares what the business village district was, which is, I'm getting an error message. In bold is what we've inserted. And as you go through, you can see what's stricken out is what was in the current code. And Sam, I think this plays into kind of what you were looking for. And this is updated with the changes we made last night as well. So, I mean, this is something we can certainly get out and distribute to the public now so they can see the changes that were made. I know people always ask that, how is it different? So I don't
Good
know
idea.
the board's thoughts on that, but this is something. And sorry. Sam,
It's
I
a
didn't
good
hear you.
idea, I think. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we can get that up. We can get that out on the website tomorrow, and maybe this is something we can get copies made of, you know, as well. And, you know, get it out at some of the public places, you know, and we can distribute it. We'll get it to the blog and some other places as well, just so people have an idea of what the changes actually are. So happy to do that. And Rob, I'll shoot that to you as well tonight, so you can have that. I didn't know if the board, and I guess Marty, if that's more of a you and Julie thing, you know, of anything else you might want to put together. And again, sometimes less is more. I agree with Rob.
I'm a big proponent of that.
Yeah, I mean, this may be enough. I mean, if the board is comfortable with just this document, I think it achieves, you know, in answering the questions of, you know, what really is changing.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to create anything new, whether or not there's a heavily edited, abridged version of some of the stuff EDC has done before to sort of try to capture the you know, what the catalyst was for all of this and what the vision is and how this tries to tie into it. I think that makes sense. But again, a very abridged version of something like that, and then shift quickly. Again, I think the fact that this is going to, I mean, that's why, you know, last night was so important. I think the fact that this is going to go before town meeting with the full-throated support of the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, the EDC, knock on wood, the Advisory Committee. Hopefully that's a powerful statement for the voters at town meeting.
I agree. And I think that's important too, Marty, that in the blue handout that we're going to have at town meeting, that we have those votes on there as well at the bottom, so people can be aware of that. So, okay, so we'll get that up on the town website as far as the downtown district goes.
And I'll be in touch with Rob and Julie.
Okay, that's perfect. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. So, okay, that takes us to handouts, which is under town meeting logistics. I don't think, Mr. Purple, there were no other handouts. Or actually, Chelsea, were you going to have something?
Yes, there'll be a Board of Health report.
There'll be a board, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will get that to Jim. There's a Board of Health meeting to sign off on the final version, hopefully next Tuesday.
Okay. So I wanted to ask the board as well, under the capital budget, our intention is to have Mr. Malinowski, it's a Board of Selectmen article, but Mr. Malinowski in the past has spoken on the capital items. Is that still our intention? Okay, perfect. I'll take care of that. I'll make sure he's included in the meeting with the moderator. So, okay, so articles. So let's just go through the articles just quickly. Select board, I would be happy to take that one. So if the board is good with that, Marty, you can do that one too, though.
Marty wants that one.
I know you did. I had you down initially for that one. I debated. So I
I
would
will
be
end up,
happy.
I end up filibustering.
Plus, he's got his 3 amendments ready on that one too.
So I would be happy to take that one. General fund and water, I assume is Malinowski. That's going to be you because that's mainly Board of Health.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So, but the benefit portion and the water portion would be the selectmen piece.
So do you want to speak to those as well?
I'm happy to, unless somebody else wants to. Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, that's fine. So Jason's going to do that. Traffic study, HCV. Mr. Stivers, Mr. Dennington. Which one of you would like to read that motion? And
I'm fine with that one. I'm basically pretty indifferent about these. Andrew, if you have any strong feelings.
I don't have any strong feelings, but I'm happy to do it if you like as well.
well, you two decide.
Okay, Andrew, take it.
Want to do rock, paper, scissors? Or
No,
It's
Sam
yours.
gave that up. Okay.
As the new person here, you get to do them
Okay.
all.
Okay.
That's perfect. And then Marty, you're going to do Article 10. So Marty and Julie. Okay. So I think that covers the warrant piece, financial impact. Ms. Malinowski.
So I had asked Mark to have the finance team put together what the tax rate looks like before special town meeting, as well as the impact of what, if we voted all the articles, what it would look like after November 1st at special town meeting. And we got a memo from the finance team on Friday that I was a little surprised by. I know that there's been talk and discussion about what the commercial impact would be to the tax rate. But I didn't think that the memo explained the reason why. So I was disappointed in how it was communicated to us. And I think we need to understand the process better of how values are assessed in town and what the timing of that is. I understand we're not going to know before annual town meeting, but I think, we need to be more ahead of it than I think we were on this one. This definitely caught myself off guard. And I don't want to have that kind of surprise, I guess, happen again. So I think we need to do a better job.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I got a question. And I was confused also, Chelsea. I mean, as best I can tell, what happened is the commercial valuations went down more than was projected originally.
Yes.
But it wasn't totally clear to me. That was my guess. And my key question is, why in heaven's name didn't we know this 6 months ago, or wasn't there a reasonable expectation that that was going to happen? And somewhere along the line, I think there was a unfortunate communication breakdown. So sort of who knew what when, and why didn't we know, and how do we avoid that happening in the future, I think are the key issues here. I gotta believe that it wasn't a total shock that showed up last week. And if it was, then we got another problem, I think.
Yeah.
So I am also very curious about what happened and who knew what when and why we did it the way we did it, and how do we not do it again.
I will add, Sam, that Mr. Purple reached out to Mr. Sibeli, and he will be coming to our meeting on 11/3. So
Okay,
we
good.
can discuss
Thank
and ask questions on it then. Mr. Dennington, any comments?
No, I don't have any questions that haven't already been asked.
Mr. Healy? No.
Lisa,
Go
can I
ahead,
just,
Chelsea.
so that's kind of in the response to the memo, but
Yeah.
I have a concern that we're looking at an almost 5% increase before the articles for a special town meeting. So I did get a chance to touch base with Carla on what she's working on with Jennifer from CSS right now. And Jennifer is working on revenue loss calculation. And I think that this could factor into that. Although I don't know the timing of when we would have that back, if it would be prior to fall town meeting in order to offset the tax rate. So, I think ARPA is definitely an option. I think it's something that Carla is already working with her on. But I don't know if that's going to shake out to help us with this, this tax rate. And I'll also say that I don't think that the numbers that we have for special town meeting is really the biggest issue here. I really think it's what happened between what we voted at annual town meeting and now.
So I'll kind of piggyback on that for a second, Chelsea. So I'm sure you've all seen the free cash numbers that came back, the certified numbers, and it was higher than we had anticipated. And I had asked Mr. Purple earlier if we had the opportunity, knowing we've applied for grants on the server piece, if there was any way that we could allocate some of the free cash as a backstop if the grant falls through. So Mark, with that lead up, I will let you give the great answer that you gave me.
Now I have to remember what I told you. So I will say that, again, the free cash is a little bit higher this year than it normally has been. I think a lot of that is driven by the increase in building fees, permit fees from building over the course of this pandemic. A lot of money that would have been spent other places by residents has been putting back into their homes. And so we're seeing some increases there. I would concur that if, and I did speak with Mr. Ballantyne, he is in the audience, and I did speak with Ms. McAuliffe. I don't think that the finance, or at least Mr. McAuliffe and Ms. McAuliffe and Mr. Ballantyne would disagree using free cash for one-time items such as capital, but obviously not to do something along the lines of operating. So, in terms of some of the Board of Health corrections that we're looking to make with the budget, that is not something I would advocate, that this board consider using free cash for. But if you were to vote the capital items and as well as the engineering funds that Capital Committee was looking for to keep some of their projects, potential projects moving forward, if need be for outside resources. If you did that with free cash and then community compact comes up and we don't have to apply any funds, those funds can simply be returned, at the annual meeting, from the article, and they'll roll back into free cash from where they came from when it's recertified again this time next year.
Thank you, Mark. So obviously my reason for even asking the question was I'm concerned when the taxpayers here, the rate is very different than what they went into town meeting voting and thinking. And with the asks that we have, that's just one of the options I wanted to be able to throw out there. I mean, certainly open to thoughts from the board, on what you think of potentially that idea. Go ahead, Sam.
Lisa, I'll get to that question in a second. Just follow up on a comment that Chelsea made. I don't know, Chelsea, if you saw the most recent guidelines from DOR, but they had a comment in there that relative to the lost revenue. They say growing local aid plus growth in property taxes and other local receipts probably means few municipalities have a significant revenue gap under the federal formula. So I'm hoping that we get some relief there, but it sounds like at least DOR thinks that's less likely. So I was always hoping that we could manage to do the formula so it helped us, but maybe not so much. So again, that may not save us there, but we should certainly consider it. And Lisa, to your question, I mean, clearly, I think we need to revisit some of the things that we've approved so far in terms of funding here to see if there are other opportunities, not only other funding sources, but maybe things that we now don't need to spend as much on as we thought originally. I mean, things like salary savings or other things that are tucked away in there somewhere that somehow we could apply to lower the expected tax rate here a little bit. But I don't have any great ideas for lots of money hiding there. But Mark, Carla, and others may have good ideas as well there. So it's worth considering, certainly.
Chelsea, do you want to add anything? Any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I would be where we have the CCT grant open, I would be comfortable using free cash for the servers. I think, I think it's something that we definitely know we need, and we need to get it before we have a problem. So I think it's important to get. But I think knowing that we have a grant in there, I would hate to raise taxes to pay for it, even if we, if we don't need it, right? Because you're raising it and then you're returning it. So I think that's a good option.
Mr. Haley.
Yeah, I think for me, it's an easy call. I mean, it's like a mid-year stabilization fund, which sidebar underscores why something like a stabilization fund is important. I mean, I hear the comments about and I think it's important to talk to Mr. Sabelli. That being said, I've got these are unusual times, and I suspect that a big part of that hit is going to come on the commercial side of things, that things that are completely outside of our control. And I agree that we need to make sure that as much lead time as possible is built into our systems so that we're not caught flat-footed when something like this happens. But again, geez, fiscal year 20, 21, and 22 are not the fiscal years we thought they were going to be in so many different ways. And I think in some respects we're lucky that maybe one of the residual effects of that was a little bit more of a cushion than normal on the stabilization side of things. And I think, it is, we owe it to the taxpayers to cushion the blows that everybody's taken in these, these past couple of years as much as we can. It's available. I think we should use it.
Thank you, Marty. Andrew?
That also makes sense to me for the reasons that you've just outlined.
Okay. Yeah, and again, knowing that we came out better in free cash than we thought, it just seems like the easiest. Okay. So, Mr.
Can I move to adjourn? Are we there?
No, we still have
Oh.
public comment. We're
Oh,
almost
okay.
there. Almost there.
Well, public
wait,
comment wants to watch the Red Sox game too, so I think we'll luck out.
So if we do this though, we need to vote to use free cash, don't we? Before we have special town meeting? Or
Yes.
Yeah, you should probably vote on the funding source, because that's how the motion is going to be constructed.
So does
Okay.
town meeting have to approve us using free cash for this?
Yes, you've got to appropriate it.
So, okay, but it fits within the article that we already have.
Yeah, it does fit within the article because it said, It
Raise
said to raise and appropriate or transfer from
Transfer.
available funds. So
Yeah.
it
Okay.
gives you the article, you try to make sure the article gives you all the options. I know when, previous town council was like, if you know it, you've got to be specific. And I'm like, things always change. So give yourself as much latitude as you can in the article. So that's why we do it that way.
Okay, so then the motion will reflect that we're going to use free cash for this.
The motion's got to be specific, correct?
Okay,
So just to be clear, are we using the free cash for both the server and the feasibility? The engineering study? Yes, okay.
And
So-
what I would suggest is just from an open meeting standpoint, since it's not clear that it's on the agenda, is it?
no,
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the sentiment is in favor of doing that. I think we can wait and vote on it
The town
till
meeting.
town meeting. I'd be more
That's-
comfortable doing that than voting on
Yep.
it tonight.
No,
Okay.
that's great, Marty. I appreciate that. And we'll also let advisory know that that's the path that we're looking to go for this as well.
Okay.
So I'll reach out to Kathy and let her know that. Okay, so that's great. That being said, okay, do we have any public comment? Going once? Going, oops, really quickly, I just would like to bring over Melanie Atsuko. She is the new admin. I just wanted everybody to be able to say hello to her and welcome her. And I actually had the opportunity to meet the applicants. So hello, nice to see you again.
Hey, nice to see you as well.
Welcome. We'll kind of just let everybody go around and say hi to you and welcome you. So we'll start with Mr. Stivers.
Thank you. Welcome, Melanie. Look forward to having a chance to meet you in person and glad to have you on board. Thank you.
I'm very excited.
Mr. Dennington.
Welcome aboard and nice to meet you. And I'm sure we'll get a chance to say hi in person next time I'm at the townhouse.
Sounds great.
Mr. Healy.
Yeah, hi Melanie. Same, look forward to meeting you. Interesting times to start a new job, but I guess half the country's starting a new job these days.
That's
So,
what I hear.
So welcome, and I think you'll find that the town of Southborough is a pretty nice place to work.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Malinowski.
hi Melanie, nice to meet you. You're joining a great team and I look forward to working with you.
I look forward to it as well.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming tonight. So we could at least say hello.
Sounds great. It was nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go back to public comment at this point. Any public comment going once? Please raise your hand. Going twice? No public comment. Mr. Healy.
Yeah, I'd like to personally thank Mr. Litt, and I move to adjourn.
Is
Second,
there- All right, roll call. Mr. Healy.
Aye.
Mr. Dennington.
Hi.
Mr. Stivers.
aye.
Ms. Malinowski.
Aye.
And Ms. Brascio, aye. Good night, everybody. Look at this, before 8 o'clock.
Good work, Lisa.
Woo! Good night, everybody.